Hi everyone, welcome back. You're watching The Money Show on ET Now. We just had an in-depth discussion on the few changes in tax rules, or rather should I say the getting back to normalcy that we have seen in tax rules with effect from the 1st of July, the leeways that the finance minister had allowed, which you will have to get back to adhering to with effect from the 1st of July. Not much. Largely, the FM has granted quite a few of extensions in deadlines and penalties. But yeah, there are a couple, and we did have an in-depth discussion on the same with Divya Baveja of Deloitte India. Well, now we decided to do a product review, if you could call it that, but this product is an investment product. Remember that in late May or the beginning of June, roughly, the government had withdrawn a product that was widely touted as being quite a good, safe, decent returned investment product, and that's the RBI 7.75% taxable bonds. For 1 month, there was no replacement as such for that, but just with effect from the 1st of July, the government introduced a new kind of product, and that's the floating rate saving bond of 2020. What exactly is this product? How does it pitch against a variety of the other products that the government offers, or even for that matter, a simple bank fixed deposit or a recurring deposit? I have with me Uday Dhoot of Venn Wealth to talk about this product, what he likes about it, what he does not like about it, and much more. Uday, thank you so much for joining us today on The Money Show. I'm sure maybe you as well may have been a bit displeased when the taxable bonds had been withdrawn.
I would say yes or no. The taxable bonds have. I think the biggest thing around taxable bonds is that the RBI taxable bonds is the safety. These are government backed, issued by RBI. So somebody who's extremely paranoid about safety, who's very clear that he needs safety at all cost. I think they were a great option at 7.75 as the interest rates were going down across the board. They continue to be a great option for investors because your 10-year GSEC had gone below 6 and you were getting 7.75 taxable bonds. I think it was a good deal. And as they got withdrawn and now being replaced by these floating rate bonds, one needs to see where does it fit in, whom does it fit in for, and where it actually makes sense and where it does not make sense.
Okay, so that's exactly what we would like to discuss with you there, the floating rate bonds. Firstly, if you could talk to us about how they differ from these taxable bonds that existed in May and prior to that. What features stand out according to you of these government floating rate bonds?
So I think two major differences, right? One, the taxable bonds were being issued at 7.75 fixed rate for the term, right? And now that rate has been reduced from 7.75 to 7.15 for the next 6 months, and these are floating rate. What do you understand by floating rate? I think a lot of us are used to floating rate home loans, right? What happens in the floating rate home loans is as the interest rates go up, the interest rate on our home loans go up. Likewise, when the interest rates go down, the interest rates on our home loans go down, right? That's how we are mostly used to interest rates. Now, the interest rate bonds that the government has issued will be reset every 6 months. The RBI is issued rather, will be reset every 6 months. So every 6 months, it will pay up slightly 35 basis points, if I'm not wrong, higher than the national savings certificate. So whatever is the rate for the national savings certificate, you'll get 35 basis points higher than that, reset every 6 months. Now, from an investor standpoint of view, when does a floating interest rate make sense? If you think in the coming years the interest rates are likely to go up, you would want to be in a floating rate interest bond so that as the rates keep going up, you get higher interest rates. But if you think that the interest rates are likely to go down, then you do not want to be in a floating rate interest bond. You want to be in a fixed rate interest bond so that you can tie your investments as of today. This is the major difference between the bond which used to exist before May and now the current form of the floating rate bonds. A few other features of the bonds are that these are a seven-year tenure bonds. You cannot liquidate them beforehand. They have created some exit window for senior citizens at different age groups, wherein you have to have it hold it for 4 years, 5 years, and so on and so forth. But essentially, I would say for all practical purposes, this is not a liquid investment. You cannot even take loan against this security. So basically, there is no way to get any money out of this once you've made the investment. barring the regular 6 monthly interest that you have. There is no cumulative option. Compulsorily, every 6 months, the interest will be paid out to you, and the interest rates will be set every 6 months. So right now, the interest rate that is being set is applicable until the first 6 months. Then on 1st January 2021, we will have a new rate being set up, and so on and so forth. This is only for individuals and HUF. NRIs cannot invest in them. There is no maximum limit. And these are available through multiple banks, both private and public sector banks. So that's the long and short of these floating rate securities or bonds from the RBI. What are the major benefits, if I were to say? I think two clear benefits which are available. One, because they are issued by RBI, they are 100% secure, 100% safe. In this current environment, everyone is paranoid about risk around capital and what will happen to XYZ companies and so on and so forth. This is the safest that comes, right? So that's one. Now, this apart from the payout of interest is totally so if somebody has a view that rates will go up in the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, then this could be a great starting point because you could actually get higher interest rates. But today, most of us have used maybe interest rates are heading downward. So I'm not very sure how one wants to play that out. But it might be good if you have a fixed income portfolio to have something floating and something fixed, right? It just sort of kind of diversifies your investment standpoint of view. What are some of the disadvantages of this investment? Is that one, because it is so high on safety, you could possibly not have great returns. So we will come to where it fits in your portfolio slightly later. But you really do not have a liquid option. You do not know upfront what is the kind of interest payout you are going to get. If imagine a scenario wherein interest rates continue to go down, then how much part of your portfolio this should be something that you need to think about and look at. Now compare this with what is being offered on these small saving schemes from the government, right? Because they are also pretty much government backed. And if you look at it from that comparison perspective, you would say that if it is for a senior citizen, maybe there are some other options that
there
should
are
be
a couple of
exhausted
follow-up questions. Guys, come. Actually, you mentioned about the interest rate. Now it is floating. Let's talk about, you said expectation of what the future interest rates could do, right? Right now, we are in the midst of this economic slowdown, obviously. I mean, maybe there will be some support needed to industries to sort of, boost production. The economy will basically need a push. Now, of course, many of our viewers may not be really savvy with the macroeconomic parlance or how it works, but generally the view is that if the economy is not doing well, then the RBI cuts interest rates. That means the floating rate, as we call it, will go down. So then, Uday, in such a situation, maybe the floating rate would not be the best of things to opt for, right?
So, Mubina, here comes the important point here, right? First of all, when we think about a product, never think of a product by itself. Always think of the product as part of a larger portfolio, right? And you always want to diversify. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. This whole interest rate scenario, this COVID-related pandemic and the uncertainty around it, we know that yes, RBI has taken already a lot of action to basically to provide a lot of liquidity support to the market. Now, these are 7-year investment. Now, is there a chance in the next 1 year, 2 year that the economy starts picking up and then the interest rates start going up? It's a possibility. I won't say that this is not a possibility that interest rates won't go up at all, which means that maybe, yes, there is some room for something like this in your portfolio because the interest rates can go up. Now, that is where you need to sort of start thinking about this, is that don't think of the product only by itself. See how the product can fit in within a portfolio of securities, right? So you will have some fixed rate investments. It is good to have some floating rate investments in your investments.
Okay. That's another important point as well that you brought up. Remember that these bonds have to be held for 7 years. There is no exit. there's no tradability of these bonds. They have to be held for 7 years. Yes, maybe you can transfer them to your nominee, to your family member or whoever that is. But yeah, in these 7 years, interest rates are not going to be static. They are going to move. And this is a floating rate bond. So interest rates will see some movement over there. And that's what you need to consider. You need to consider this bond as well being a part of your larger portfolio. Okay, now coming back to where it fits in your portfolio. Uday, for everybody, I think the first thought really that comes to their mind is pitching this floating bond with your PPF, with your Sukanya Samriddhi scheme or your senior citizen savings account, or even the NSE for that matter, the NPS, so on and so forth. That straight away is something that comes to your mind. I don't think the floating rate bond offers any sort of tax benefits. In fact, it's very clearly written taxable. So I think that interest as well that you will be getting will be added on to your annual income. So how does it pitch, versus the other small saving schemes?
So first of all, please realize that, like I said, one important feature is this is not a cumulative option. It is compulsory interest payout. So this is for somebody who is looking at regular income. This is not for somebody who is just looking at parking the money and leaving it aside. Maybe there the PPF or the Sukanya Samriddhi scheme and the other such investment options might be better. So for them, this is the option. Now, the comparable, I would say, is that who are people who are looking for regular income? So I would say mostly senior citizens or people who have some large portion of savings already, and they basically survive on passive income. Those are the kind of folks who are looking for regular income. So there, the advantage for something like this is that it gives you that 6 monthly payout. Now, if I think about senior citizen, I would say that maybe the senior citizen schemes wherein you can invest up to 15 lakh rupees is a better option. And then comes the Pradhan Mantri, the pension yojana, which is there through LIC. That is also a good option, which was extended, which was supposed to end on March 31st, 2020, has been now extended. That is somebody who has a large corpus. First, he should basically ensure that he has maxed out both of these schemes before he starts thinking about RBI, the tax bonds. Here, has to some very safe instruments, and some maybe you would want to go to like AAA corporate bonds also, or maybe some bank FDs where you can purchase. So I would say that, hey, look at your overall portfolio, fix all those other needs first, and then see whether you have need for something like this. The nature is floating rate, so that way it sort of adds a slight variety. The other reason in the senior citizen scheme, in the pension yojana of the Pradhan Mantri pension yojana, it's all 15 lakh rupees in the pension schemes, and hardly any money in the PPF, etc. Here you have no limit. You can put in any amount of money. So maybe at times HNIs who have large amounts of money but want extreme safety can though they will get taxed on a higher side on this. So I think there are a lot of counterbalancing things that one needs to look at, and that's where it comes all about.
Okay, apologies, we're just having some net issues, over there. But yeah, I think that's largely, we've got the gist of the floating rate savings bonds 2020. Remember to always look at it from a more holistic perspective. If you have a lot of fixed income instruments in your portfolio, a bit of floating would be a nice addition, a nice touch, if you could call it that. And yeah, these are 7-year bonds, not liquidable. You can't even take a loan against these bonds. They will only be transferable to your nominee. You will get that interest though, on a regular frequency. So for anybody who's looking for a regular income, this could be okay for them. Okay, let's take on board some questions and queries. We have Arun Kardam, who's written into us saying, I've been investing 13,000 rupees monthly in 8 funds. The goal is to accumulate wealth for his the education of two kids. And retirement by the time he is 50 years of age. Unfortunately, he hasn't mentioned what his age is right now, but I would reckon he's above 30 since he has, 2 children. So he's got 8 funds, 13,000 rupees, L&T Mid Cap, Murray Asset Emerging, SBI Magnum, Kotak Standard Multi Cap. Then 2 small cap funds from HDFC and SBI. There's also a Nifty 50 fund from HDFC and a Motilal Oswal S&P 500 fund. So there's one overseas fund as well. So 8 funds is quite a lot. There's almost 3 funds from the mid and the small cap, category. There's also a multi-cap fund. But what do you make of only 30,000 rupees per month? I mean, his goals are the education of 2 kids plus retirement, that too by the time he's 50 itself. Uday, do you think this amount may be too less?
Actually, Mubina, Arun has not given us any idea about the kind of goals he's looking at in terms of what his regular expenses are, what kind of studies. Is he talking like basic engineering, doctor, bachelor's, India, abroad? There is no mention around that. So it's hard to really say. But from whatever I can see, that looks like he's doing something on an active basis. He's sort of disciplined from a savings perspective. Maybe if he's listening to us today, I would say that, hey, give us some more detail. What is your income? What are your expenses? What is the size of these goals you're looking at? Saying that, hey, I need 20 lakh, I need 1 crore, right? Because the expense could be in any of these sort of buckets in terms of the sizes. From an allocation perspective, this is largely equity with some amount of debt which is there in the SBI Magnum Constant Maturity Fund that he holds. He's trying to do some international, so all that is good. I think he's planning well. Maybe some more thought around what is the size of the goal. Is that sufficient savings that you're doing versus the kind of size of the goal that you have might be important. Given that his most important goal is kids' education and marriage, it might be worthwhile, whatever is the size of the goal. Let's say overall for the 2 kids, you need 50 lakh rupees or 1 crore rupees. Is that buy that much amount of term insurance for yourself so that that goal is covered. You know that this is going to happen irrespective of what comes. Right now, you're heavy on mid and small cap, bumpy ride for some time. But if you're okay with that, good. Or maybe just switch to more of the multi-cap and the index fund that you hold there is all that I would say. One final thought is on the SBI Magnum Constant Maturity Fund that he's holding. So please understand that the underlying there is 100% GSEC, 10-year paper at all points in time. Now, the challenge is that it has done exceedingly well over the last 5, 6, 7 years. But if the interest rates do go up, such investments can give you negative returns. So though they are government security, because the prices go down of bonds when the interest rates go up, they can yield you negative returns. So just be aware of that fact. Don't necessarily have to change your strategy. You can remain with this over a long period of time, but just be aware that, hey, yes, this is government securities, but it can be negative returns. So that's all I would want to add to Arun. Yeah. And maybe more clarity on his goals the next time he writes into us.
That's, I think, a suggestion to all our viewers that if you can just quantify what your goals are, it would definitely make the financial advice a bit more, synchronized and simplified. Though, of course, at the end of the day, having said that, it's always best to consult with a financial advisor. We on the Money Show are just to sort of set you off in the right direction, especially for those who have already started off on their wealth creation journey by DIYing their investments, if I could call it that. All right, we're out of time. So, Uday, we leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Money Show. We will take a very short break. When we return, we will be talking about loans, and in fact, we'll be getting an insider advice on what it takes to get your loan approved. Don't go anywhere.